take to accomplish that. So first thing you're going to want to do is go to a shop called beast.com. You're then going to want to click on the Visit Blender Library. This is going to walk you through step by step from the very beginning of first how to check your system requirements. This will tell you whether the Windows or Macs or whatever system you're running is capable of running the Blender application. Step 2 is going to take you to download and install the Blender application. So you have an option for Windows or Mac. And then the actual file name that you're downloading is in bold here. So you just go here and then find that file, 3.3.1 Windows. x64.zip is going to be if you're Windows. And then the Mac file is listed here as well. So once you download the Blender application, the next step is going to be to get your actual 3D file for your beast. So you're just going to go to the AKCB hub. It's going to take you to the showroom. All you have to do is connect your wallet. And then once you do, your beast is going to pop up. So you'll just click on your beast. You'll see an option to view it in AR. You can download the profile picture, the full body picture. And then this option here is what we're talking about with the 3D, the GLB file. So this is where you go to download your actual beast file. Okay. So after you've done that, the next step is going to be to download the preset lighting file. This is something that the team put together because when you open up Blender for the first time, the only thing that's going to be in there is a camera and then a box. So you would have to set up all your own custom lighting. You'd have to add a background. So what the team did to make it a lot easier is you can actually just download this AKCB camera and lighting file. And this makes it a lot easier because they've already set up the lighting for you and they've already set up the background for you. So this is a file you're going to download here. Another optional file that you can download is you can download the basic beast blend or the T-pose file for a basic beast, and T-poses are what you would need for animations, but that's not something that we're going to be covering in kind of the basic tutorial here. So fourth step again is to download that preset file that's going to set your background and lighting perfect for you. The fifth step is going to be to download the Blender kit, and this is a really important one because it's one we're going to be focusing on today for how to actually add custom textures to your beast. So step 5 is to go here. You just download the Blender kit. And then after you download it, you want to make sure that you install it, but then also enable it within Blender. So this video here on the site actually shows you how to unzip it and then actually go into your preferences and then make sure that you have the Blender kit online asset library actually enabled. So again, you just download it and then follow the steps in this video to actually enable it, and it's super easy. It's just edit, preferences, add-ons, and then you just literally click it and that's it. So super easy to do, and what that does is it gives you the ability to search for any textures that you want to add. So let's say you wanted to do like a snake skin. It gives you all these textures. So again, this add-on is really, really important. It'll make your life a whole lot easier. Again, just searching for any textures that you want to do. And we'll get to that in a little bit here. Okay. So step 6 is the Blender tutorials. So this session is going to be recorded. We've had previous sessions done by Panda for animations and following along the path. But this is where a lot of the tutorials from members in the community. We have Mr. Cat, Kid Chaos, Juan, Triple Dreamers, Panda, and myself have all created tutorial videos. So this is the first 2 that are just linked here on the website. But if you want the full list, then you just go to the link, go to the Beast Blender AR animation tutorials, and then you have this entire playlist. So it's in order from beginning to end. So these are the first 2 that are once again linked on the site here. It's the best place to start. You have some of the Blender sessions that we've had in Discord that are recorded here. So 1 from myself and then 2 from Panda. And then some more advanced tutorials on how to do animations, setting it in a scene, moving around your camera, rigging by Sunte here. But just a lot of great resources where if you need any help with one specific topic or one specific area, there's a good chance it's covered in these tutorials. Okay. And then at the bottom of the page, we see some additional resources. So this was the optional step I mentioned earlier, but you can also download the T-posed Beast X. That was in that Dropbox file we were in earlier. Whoops, I gotta fix that link, but that was in the Dropbox box up here. So same location. If you want to start, if you have your beast that's T-posed, you can go to Mixamo, and that'll help you create animations. We also have custom 3D merch by Sazzy Not Again. This is something we're also going to be covering in just a few minutes here. But Sazzy was kind enough to make all of these amazing digital wearables for the community. It's really simple. All you have to do is add it to your cart. It's a free download. And then again, we're going to go over how to actually add it to your beast. But this is a really, really simple way to add a really, really cool look to your beast, is going to this site. So I definitely recommend checking this one out. I'm sure you've seen them all over Twitter and everywhere else. The last two links here are just sites that you can go to for free and paid premium 3D assets. It's Turbo Squid, and then this one here is CG Trader. Let's say you're just looking for just a chair that you want to add for like a living room scene that you're doing. All you have to do is search for it. Again, there's premium assets in here, or there's also free ones. Just check that free box. And then you can see there's a bunch of really cool looking ones you can download for free. So you just download the FBX file, the ones that are free. Some of them come in clean, some of them don't, so it's hit or miss. You kind of get what you pay for when you get the free ones. Some of them look great, some of them you have to tweak. So just keep that in mind. But just a really great place to find those assets. Okay. So I want to pause there just for a couple minutes. Next, we're going to actually open Blender and then walk you through that. But any questions or anything I missed, or any comments from Panda, or if anybody else wants to come up here? Cool. So no questions. So what we're going to start with is, now that we've downloaded all the files we'll need, the first file you'll basically always open to start is the AKCB camera lighting file. So we'll go ahead and open that. And give me 1 second. AKCB lighting file. So again, this is the file that the team provided that already has the lights set up for you. It has the background, and it also has the nice lettering that you see on there. Okay, so let's walk through just the overall outline of Blender. So we'll start at the very top here. You'll see a couple tabs. We're starting in the layout tab over here on the left. You have a couple modeling and sculpting tabs. These are just different views based off of what you're trying to accomplish in Blender. 95% of what we're going to be covering is in the layout tab, which is just a simple tab. But I do want to point out the shading tab, just because this is really helpful for lighting. So you can see all these circles in here. These are actually light sources. So you'll notice in the layout, you can't really see that, and it's a lot easier. So that's why there's just different views. Shading is great for lighting. You have animations, which is great if you start to get into animations. And then these other four I don't really use too much. Composting you'll use for like glowing effects, but that's more advanced. So again, we're just going to stay within the layout. So then as we move over here to the right, the next thing that we're going to see is our views. And let's go ahead and import our beast in so we can see this. Let's go to, where's my beast X? Actually, we'll just do this one. Okay, so all you do is you go to File, Import, and then we're just going to import our GLB file, and then it's going to put our beast in here. Okay, so going back to these views over here, you can see this is the most basic one. That'll highlight anything that you've actually selected. I tend to do most of my work in either the second or third tab. If you need to see the colors, then you definitely want to go with the third tab. If you don't really need to, you can go with the second one. And then the fourth one here, this is the one that takes the most processing. it's going to actually fully render it. So all the lighting effects, you can see the shadow effects in here. So the disadvantage of working in this one is that you see every time I try to move, the screen has to load. So the further you go down, the less of that. So if you have a computer that isn't as fast, the lower you're able to drop down, the kind of faster you can maneuver within the actual Blender file. So those are the views there. Over here on the upper right hand side by default, this is going to be what's called the outliner. So that's this one here. For some reason you accidentally click out of it. This is called the outliner. So all this is doing is it's showing you all the objects within the Blender file. So as we pointed out earlier, there's lights already in here. So you can see when I click on it, there's a spotlight back there. There's a point light up there. So this is going to show you all the lighting. Then this next one, and you can expand and collapse these categories. This is the background. So that's this guy over here. You have a couple cameras where you have the main camera. You have the PFP angle if it's a male beast, and then there's a slightly different angle if it's a female. And then as we go down here, these are just going to be all the individual objects within the beast. So the eyelids, the legs, the shoes, the t-shirt, zipper, so on and so forth. So again, this just lists out all the objects that are within the file. Then down here on the bottom right, these are your properties. So there's quite a few options in here if you're trying to do advanced stuff. The main ones that you probably will use the most in the beginning is the render properties. So one thing I do want to point out here is that there's two main render engines. There's Cycle, which is going to give you the most detail. And then there's also Eevee, which is still going to give you a pretty quality image. And the advantage of going to a lower quality Eevee is, again, if you don't have a super fast computer, this will help bump up your render time to render a lot more quickly. So if you're having issues and you're set on cycles, try doing the actual render going off of Eevee. So that's where you can change the render. This next tab here is just going to change. Let me go back to my main camera. So again, to toggle between the cameras, we're just clicking on the camera icon. So going back to the main camera, if you go back to where we were in here, this one will just change the size of the image you're taking. So let's say instead of 2000 pixels, it's 2000 by 1500. So you can just kind of change what the size of the image is by going into output properties. We're going to skip most of these because they're more advanced, and then we'll go into this last one here, which is the main one you'll be working in, is the material properties. So I'm going to go in so you can see the colors, but anything you click on, this will allow you to customize some of those properties. Okay. So you can play around with some of these, like the sheen, the roughness has a pretty big effect. So as we slide this down from 100, you can see it's a lot shinier. But again, all these toggles you can kind of play around with. It's an easy way to change some of the characteristics. And then one thing I do want to point out as well is that a lot of the work we're going to be going over is in this view over here, which is called the shader editor. You'll see it's the same exact properties. But what this allows us over here to do is start to add more nodes in, and that's something that we'll cover in just a few minutes here. So materials property here, and then again, this is kind of our node section where we're going to be doing a lot of customization. So that's the overall outline. And then over here at the top, let's say we like how it looks and it's cut off right now, so we know we have to edit this, but let's say you were happy with it. If you're good, you just go up to render image, or if you're doing animation, you do animation, but render image. It's going to load up, and then depending on how fast or slow your computer is, and then also how many different assets and how crazy your background is, will all determine how quickly it runs. But for something that's very basic like this, you can see this is going to run pretty quickly. There's 50 total samples. We're already at 28, and then now we're done. Okay, so this would be the fully rendered image. Again, you see the shadows because the team has already put the lights in there. They've already put the background in there. So we can see with this image that we probably want to move the beast forward or the letters backwards so that there's no overlap. So let's talk about how to move objects, how to rotate objects, and then we'll get into how to customize the textures. And then we'll also go into how to actually view in 3D. So What I'm doing right now is if you have a middle wheel on your mouse and you go forward or backwards, that is going to control your zoom in and out. So what you can also do is if you push that wheel in and move your mouse left to right, it's now going to rotate it in 3D. Because remember, this is 3D software. And if you get lost and you try to get back to the original view, you can always click on that camera icon. So if you get kind of lost where you are in there, you can always just go back to that camera view. So again, the middle wheel in on your mouse, left to right, will rotate it. Now, if I do the same thing, but I click Shift on my keyboard, instead of rotating it, I'm now going to hit Shift, and it's now just going to go left to right. So what that'll do, let's go back to the camera. If I kind of rotate it here, but now my beast is up here, and I want to move him more towards the center, I just click Shift, hold the mouse wheel down, and then now I can zoom in this way. And then no shift, rotate it back, and then back to the camera. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move the letters. So we have to select the letters, and then we'll rotate this way, and then maybe zoom out a little bit. And instead of overlapping, you can see we want to select our move option. We have our move, our rotate, and our scale are the main ones we'll be using for beginners. But we want to move this object back. So make sure you have selected move. We can move it up or down, and you can always do Control Z to undo. You can move it back and forth. So let's move it back. And now when we go back to our camera, you can see it's not overlapped. It's a little bit off center. So let's move it back in center. But we're still not seeing the full letters. So let's go to scale. So we're clicking on our scale. We'll click just inside. We can either scale it up. If we want to drag it that way, we can do it left to right. Let's undo that. If we want it to scale it evenly, you just kind of click just inside the circle. So not on any of the blue, red, or green lines. Then you just drag it up to how you want it. So let's make it a little bit bigger. We'll move this like that. And then so now it looks a little bit cleaner. Okay. And then now we can go into our background. We can go into material properties. Let's change the base color. And then now we can choose any color we want to. So obviously we're always going to choose red. It's the best color that's out there. So now this looks pretty good. So now we can go back into render image. And then there we go. So I'll go ahead and stop there. Do we have any questions? Did we lose the screen? Okay, cool. Oh, cool. Oh, I'm getting a bunch of thumbs up. Okay, cool. So this is recorded. It definitely won't glitch on my end because I'm recording directly from my screen. So if there's any glitchy parts, you can always just watch this back. Cool. So that is a very basic one. Now the next thing we're going to go into by certainly popular demand is how to add Sassy's assets. So we'll go back to our Blender library. This was in the additional resources. Go to Sazzy's site here, and then you can click on anything that you want to add. So again, you just add it to the cart. It's going to take you to a checkout screen where there's no charges, and then it'll say click to download, and then you'll download the assets, and then wherever you save it to on your computer, that's where you'll pull it from. So let's say, I can't remember if I downloaded a hat, but let's see if I got any of this hat. So we'll go into download. Let's see, Bagme black hat. So this is the file that we downloaded directly from his site. We'll open it up. Let's try it without taking the bala so it's not as scary looking. Download hat. Boom. And there we go. So the cool thing is that a lot of the options that Sassy has on his site will just automatically fit on your beast. So it's literally just file, import. Those are going to download as GLBs. And then, oh, so it fits it right on your beast. Now, for some reason, if it's a little off, if you have like a 101 beast, you may have to play around with it. So just like we covered before, you can move it this way. It's kind of cutting off. Go that way. You can also rotate it. If for some reason it's just a little bit off, you can still play around with it and place it pretty easily in there. Okay. Now, with this background that we have, it's pretty limited because you can't really add images to it because it is going to distort it because of how long it is. So let's go ahead and take this background out and let's add our own planes so we can have a ground and a background. Okay. So to add anything, it's always going to be Shift A, and I'll bring up this here. So you can see you can add meshes. I don't know what a meta ball is. Panda does. He'll have to tell us. There's lights in here that you can add. You can add additional cameras. So the file comes with the main PFP male and PFP female, but you can add your own angles if you'd like to. But what we're going to do is add a mesh and then plane. Okay. And sometimes it'll randomly add it to a weird part. So I'm glad it did that. Let's go ahead and delete that. This circle here is where objects are going to be placed. So your cursor, so go up here to the left. Let's place it under our feet. And so our plane adds in the area we want it to. And then now it's under our feet. So it's really small. We're going to just do the resize that we just showed. So we hit our size. Don't select the blue, red, or green. Just hit, oh, I selected the pants by accident. Make sure we have, yep. Yeah, let's try to do it towards the end. Cool. Yep, this will be recorded. No problem, guys. So adding the plane underneath, then we resize it so it's a little bit bigger, and then we can rotate it so that it lines up. And then we'll do the same thing to get a background behind us. So we'll just do Control C to copy, and then Control V to paste. What? Control V to paste. Good. And then we'll go here, and then we can rotate it. Like that. And then so we just got to fix it. So this is kind of the fun part of Blender, is just kind of getting your planes to match up where you want to. But again, it's just rotating it, resizing it, and then moving it. That, and we'll make it a little bigger. So now we have this, and now we can add any texture we want to, because again, we have our Blender kit add-on. So we'll just go over here to the second option, which is going to give you materials, and let's look for a wall material. So you just type in whatever material you're looking for. We'll just go with this one. Okay, so now we have kind of this crazy wall. And then let's look for like a marble floor. So we just type in marble. Okay. So now we have those textures. And then now when we render, we've now added a custom Sassy hat and sweatshirt. We've added a custom wall texture. And then we have our custom marble texture. So you'll see like a little bit of mirror effect that'll come through for that marble.